guys. I got quite a few inquiries several months ago whenever the iron debate on RX Muscle released with Milos, Sarcev, and Dave Palumbo regarding insulin and each of their theories behind it. I just never wanted to watch it. I'm so busy, but I finally got to watching most of it. I did some cardio and I did listen to it. First of all, I do want to say that I'm friends with all those guys. So anything I say now is just my opinion. You know, you can have differing opinions, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I still consider each of them a friend. And yeah, we're gonna clash heads here and there, just like Milos and Dave did, etc. So first of all, I am more so on the side of Milos regarding the pre-workout insulin usage using a very fast-acting insulin. That's something that I experienced firsthand many of times, and I've had great success with it. I even had success with it without conjunction of growth hormone, which is kind of like a no-no. But my ectomorphic body type, back when I was, I think it was like 23, 24, maybe 25, I don't know, 2007 or 8. And I had great success with it even without growth hormone, which is lipolytic, and you usually want to counteract insulin's adipogenic effects with GH. However, I was so meticulous with my diet. I was low, zero carb the whole day. I infused the fast-acting insulin prior to my training in conjunction with the perfect amount of carbohydrates, etc. I had a really dramatic supercompensation effect within days. And that was just my own experiment. Anyway, I've used that protocol as I advanced more and more later on in my career. I never use a lot of insulin, but I would plug it in here and there. And of course, in conjunction with growth hormone, I think it's just a wonderful tool. Now, I did feel like with the interview with Amin, Dave, and Milos, Amin was kind of there as a neutralizer. I feel with these interviews, it would be more effective and better for the viewers if it was really cut to the point of two opposing people. In that case, it was Milos's theory of fast insulin pre-workout versus Dave, perhaps slow insulin, fast insulin, post-workout, or low glycemic carbs, high glycemic carbs, Milos. Those were the two that were polar opposites. Amin was kind of a neutralizing person there. I understand. I just think it makes things more drawn out. Kind of like with the Factory interview that I did, King Kamali was added in there, in my opinion, as a neutralizing agent, or just someone that was just neutral. I feel that it would be more effective for RX Muscle to just eliminate that third party. Anyway, that's not taking anything away from Amin. He had some good points, but he was very agreeable. So I didn't like some of the things that Dave was mixing up with some of Milos's protocols. I mean, I know he was laughing a lot of certain things Milos says, because Milos is he's very heartfelt and adamant about his protocols. He has a lot of passion and he believes in them, and he's seen them work firsthand several times. I think Dave was saying that, why would you want to jam pack 200 grams of carbs all at once whenever you can just do it gradually throughout the day? Glycogen synthase is going to take place regardless, yada, yada, yada. So I understand where Milos is coming from. He's probably obsessive compulsive like I am. And in fact, nutrient timing is very important. So to make his protocol effective, and I haven't followed it to the T, I've never hired Milos, etc., but I have a good gist of maybe what it's about, and I've done something similar with my own thoughts. So for me personally, I would stay very, very low carb throughout the day prior to training, and then I would literally inject carbs just during my training, and I would infuse the right amount of nutrients, and those nutrients need to be precise. I'm pretty sure Milos's ingredients with me, the nutrients need to be pre-digested, and that's essential amino acids, free form. That is certain other agents you can add to it. You can add, nitric oxide inducing agents, citrulline, nitrosogene, etc. But the main bread and butter is essential amino acids, and then a glucose polymer or a high molecular weight carbohydrate, which is the best because it's going to not cause a lot of GI distress and not pull a lot of blood in your stomach. You don't want a lot of activity in your stomach. You want things to be dispersed in the blood to deliver to working muscles. So you need to have those ready. And so what I would do is I would infuse 100 to 150 grams of high molecular weight carbs with essential amino acids, creatine, yada, yada, yada. I would use a Pedra or Novolog or Humalog, all very fast-acting insulins.
and I would infuse my carbs just during that period throughout the training. And my training would coincide with it. It was, you know, wouldn't do giant sets all the time. I would do I would do triple drop sets, rest, pause, triple drop sets, a lot of volume training and stuff like that. But I have done giant sets as well, etc. Worked wonderful. I would get in, get out per se. The active life was around 3 hours max. My metabolism was fast, so I could get in, get out really fast. Then for the rest of the day, I would still focus on protein and vegetables. My blood sugar was fine. So I was in a lipolytic state in the beginning of the day. I was in an anabolic state during my training. Once again, burning fat at night. My composition was wonderful. I even did this recently with just my testosterone replacement therapy and my low dose growth hormone. And I was holding 240 and sub 9% body fat, 8%, something like that. It works well. Dave was kind of thinking that it's ludicrous, it's insane to just dump all this glucose in your body, and then of course pre-training it's really hazardous, which it could be hazardous if you don't know how to do it right. So you need to test things first, start off slow, minor amount of insulin, 2 IUs, 3 IUs, 4 IUs, figure out your carb amounts. Main thing is you're going to have GI distress because it's a lot of fluid to ingest during your training. That's where you need to slowly introduce it and figure out how much dilution you need for the nutrients. You know, you have 50 grams of amino acids plus 100 grams of carbs and 24 ounces of water, guys. That's like a sludge. It's not going to sit well. You need to highly dilute the shit out of it, whether that's 48 to 84 ounces. Figure that out. It takes time, but you know, you don't write something off until you properly experiment and get it right. Dave was also saying, well, it's ridiculous because if you shove 200 grams of carbs in your muscles during your training, you're going to have spillover because the rate limiting factor is glycogen synthase. Okay, Milos isn't an idiot. Obviously, his athletes have a high capacity for glycogen storage, so he plans the training around that. He plans the diet around that. So they're not going to have spillover. He knows their bodies inside and out. So they're going to train to deplete, you know. How much glycogen can the liver store? Maybe 100, maybe 150 grams of glycogen, maybe more for a bigger individual. That's the approximation. Muscle tissue, average person 500, maybe a bodybuilder 1,000. Let's say you can store 1,200 to 1,500 grams, you know, as a super athlete, a bodybuilder. So those are things that need to be considered. And also, you know, the rate limiting factor glycogen synthase, you're triggering a non-mediated insulin response. Of course, GLUT4 receptors are in the muscle from the resistance training itself. And there's also insulin dependency as well. So they did a study, I think, with insulin infusion, and they were weight training on top of that, and everything was partitioned directly to muscles. I forgot the exact grams of glucose, the amount, but it just proved that training in and of itself is going to augment glycogen synthase. And you aren't going to have spillover if you know what you're doing with the amount of carbs you're ingesting throughout the entire day, from morning to night, let alone into the training. And also, you know the person's body because you're coaching and you're working with them. So Milos was kind of getting flustered and, you know, had a mean in there, and there's interjections and people interrupting each other, and you lose your train of thought and they jump to a next question. I just don't want anyone to get it twisted, but, you know, Milos really does know what he's talking about, guys. And if there was, I only have literally a few trainers. If I ever back in the day would have needed to hire a trainer or wanted to hire a trainer, I always, you know, took pride in doing it myself, and I had a great time learning my own body. Milos Sarcev would have been one of them, and Chad Nichols probably the other, and both of them are my friends. Dave Palumbo is great too. As long as he had enough time, you should trust him. He has a great eye. However, just in this topic, I think that Dave, you know, maybe needed to be more open-minded for Milos's protocols because it's very effective. And, you know, what was he saying? He was saying glycogen synthase. Once, if there's not enough enzyme, it's not going to uptake the carbs regardless of insulin and how much you take. But there's going to be glycogen synthase because his athletes are going to be training high volume, and he's also not going to have his athletes eating a bunch of, you know, added fats in the morning. So now you have a lot of dietary fats which cause insulin resistance because you have triglycerides floating around your bloodstream. You have inflammation jacked up. That creates insulin resistance, could lower glycogen synthase. Milos is smart enough to know that you're probably going to stay low carb, low fat throughout the day, and just really plug in that intra-workout infusion of carbs. So it works great, guys. As far as using a long-acting insulin like Lantus or Levemir, yeah, that's probably going to work wonderful, coincided with farm-grade GH, nootropins or Humatrope, etc. 10 IUs a day. Levemir as a base, 100 IUs, then Humalog on top of that intermittently. That's whenever you have the reliance on insulin. You become insulin dependent. You risk becoming a type 2 diabetic. Whenever you're using a Pedra or Humalog, you're getting in and getting out. You're still going to have functioning pancreas because you aren't bogging it down with exogenous insulin or Lantus, Levemir all day. You wanted the fast track to size. Well, yeah, you can do that and plug in long acting as a base and then intermittently using the fast acting over it. And you don't give a shit about health. Cardiomyopathy, IGF levels chronically high, you're going to enlarge organs, all that shit. You just care about muscle growth, your early 20s, you don't give a shit about ramifications. That does work, and I'm not going to lie like it doesn't, because that's probably the fastest track to growth. But if you want to do this intelligently, the fastest acting insulin will actually, like you've probably heard, and Milos has preached this, I've preached this, does give your pancreas a break. It puts it on a little bit of vacation. While you're ingesting 200 grams, which is a huge influx of carbs, it's giving your pancreas a break and let the Humalog or the Apidra do its work for it. Put the carbs where they need to go. You're in, you're out, you're done. Your pancreas can wake up at night, start functioning again. So that's my take on the interview, guys. I know I had a lot of people saying, hey, did you catch the interview? Blah, blah, blah. You know, what do you think? That's what I think. I think short-acting insulin pre-workout is very effective. I also want to say that, in my opinion, you have to almost be in prison to it. Whenever you have insulin in the body, guys, you got to be so strict with dietary fat. You don't want fat floating around your bloodstream. So you're very much limited, even more strict. Let's say you use insulin in the off-season. I feel you're more strict with insulin use in the off-season than you are with contest prep, because now you got to really concern yourself with dietary fat. You have insulin floating around, it's active, it's going to shuttle any and everything, and that's into every tissue. So egg whites, fat-free whey isolate, not concentrate. Concentrate still has trace amounts of fat, like 2 grams, 2.5 grams, etc. Fat-free whey isolate, egg whites, cod, sole, shrimp, scallops, virtually fat-free seafood. Pretty boring, and you got to be super strict about it. And if you're a bodybuilder that wants to maximize the most from your drug usage, don't be a lazy son of a bitch and actually be in prison to your diet and maximize that drug and be lean. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll take DMP or GH and eat ice cream at night and shit because it'll melt off fat. Why not have that shit and be even leaner from the drug doing its work plus you doing work instead of you being a lazy asshole? So that's my take on the RX Muscle live debate with Milos, Amin, and Dave. Once again, I like all three of them. I have nothing but good things to say about them. I don't agree with everything Dave does. He doesn't agree with everything I do. Same with Milos. I'm sure I disagree with some things on him and me. It doesn't matter. That's what it's all about. Just different opinions. So there you have it, guys. That's what I think.